You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
Well, hello. This is the Jen and Rick Show. I'm Rick, she's Jen, and we are coming to you live right now from KLRNradio.com, and trying to figure out, all of a sudden it sounds like I'm in some feedback in the headset. Not sure what happened there. Alright, so anyway, I have Jen with me this evening, and we are, of course, coming to you live like we do every Tuesday and Thursday. Well, except for next Thursday. Next Thursday is either, take your pick, it's either Thanksgiving or it's We Killed All the Indians Day. And we will not be doing a show that day regardless. Yeah, I mean you can call it whatever you want, but it's still a holiday, so I ain't working. Saying. So anyway, yeah. How are you, Miss? How are you?
I'm doing good. No matter which kind of holiday you want it to be, I'm still going to enjoy my family, watch some football, and eat way too much really good food.
So you know how the president pardons turkeys every year? I'm wondering if he's going to pardon himself, Michelle, and Hillary this year.
That's funny. Funny.
I don't think she finds it as funny as she's pretending to right now, folks. Just saying.
They are turkeys. They are definitely turkeys. That is bow show.
So you know what's going to happen off air? Because right before we went on air, I made fun of Bill Mitchell for making some sort of a lightsaber Star Wars tweet. She's going to be like, dude, that Michelle and Obama joke, that was almost as bad as Bill Mitchell. You nerd.
No, you could never be as bad as Bill Mitchell.
I said almost. And
I don't know. I don't think it's even possible for you to come close.
Well, thank you for that. The check's in the mail. Just don't cash it till next Tuesday.
That's good. He is crazy.
All right. So anyway, and it's kind of dominated the live cycles around here, around KLRN for the last 10 days-ish. But I have an announcement to make. I've made it on Twitter, and I've kind of been intimating it on the radio, but it's just time that I come clean. So, for 18 months, Donald Trump could not convince me to support him because he's brash, he's crazy, has no filter, is completely insane, and I'm still not sure I really want him near the nuclear codes. But let me tell you about this interesting thing that happened when Donald Trump won the presidency. We had a complete and total meltdown of the left, and it's still going. The only thing that I can think at this point is if the left hates him this much, there must be a reason I have to at least try to like him, at least until he gets sworn in, because if the left is this afraid of him, I suddenly am starting to like him. Maybe it makes me evil. I'll take that.
It certainly does not make you evil, but they are making it easier to not just also be freaking out or being so adverse to Trump, who very recently tweeted, I just got a call from my friend Bill Ford, chairman of Ford, who advised me that he will be keeping the Lincoln plant in Kentucky, no Mexico. Whatever, if that has anything to do with Trump or not. But it's things like this that I'm okay with. I don't have to be so anti everything. And I was talking with some other friends today, and we're just kind of over all of these little tests and things where it's like, oh, you're not a good conservative, or you weren't really never Trump if you're like supporting him now. And I've seen people saying things like, oh, apparently never Trump was just never Trump before the election. And I don't think that's really fair. I mean, it's over. And what else are we supposed to do? Just oppose him for the sake of opposing him on some sort of moral principle, no matter whether he's done something or not. And despite the fact that the left is completely freaking out and acting like complete idiots. I mean, I don't understand that line of thinking. Like, it is what it is. He's not in office yet. There's not truly anything to oppose yet. I mean, we can all talk about all of his appointments and, possible rumors floating around about things he's going to do or his 100-day plan. But he hasn't done anything. He's not inaugurated, and there's nothing to really oppose yet. So I don't really like the idea that you're somehow being better if you do not oppose him for the sake of opposing him just because you're anti-Trump. The same way that these sane people, these supposed kind of principle establishment, never Trumpers, oppose or they harp on the far right that is anti-Obama just to be anti-Obama. And it doesn't matter what he says, does, or anything. They will call him names and they will twist it into something. It seems like that's kind of what they want us to do with Trump. And I think that it's a complete self-awareness fail, and also pointless, really pointless.
You know, and here's the thing, folks, and I talked about this with Jackson Richmond last night, because for those of you who missed on America Off the Rails last night, for those of you who missed last night's episode, Jackson Richmond happens to be a student attending George Washington University in D.C. They've had some pretty prominent protests going on over there for the last few days, so we were kind of we had him on, and we made fun of, discussed the special snowflakes that are currently marching on D.C. and whining about the presidential election. But it's just one of those things where, you know, he and I, every time I had him on, even just so much to the point where during the debate roundtables when Susan Swift was on with us, he would go toe-to-toe, head-to-head with her to the point where they don't even really like each other very much anymore, I don't think. Because he's always been staunchly opposed to Trump, because a lot of the anti-Semitic rhetoric surrounding his campaign. Because for those of you who may not know, Jackson Richmond's actually Jewish. But even he last night said, "Look, at this point, the battle's over. I mean, we can keep cheering him to fail, or we can actually try to get behind him and at least hold him accountable if he starts screwing up. But right now, he hasn't done anything. He has done nothing except for tell us a few people that he may or may not appoint. Some of these appointments are still going to have to get approved, so there's no guarantee that some of these people that he's floating are even going to get in. The point is, we don't know what's going to happen next. But all of these positive stories that are coming out, I saw one earlier right before we went on the air about the Trump soars our dollar soars under Trump presidency. Trump hasn't even been sworn in yet. You can't give him any credit for any of this yet. I mean, the fact that Ford may or may not be keeping their plant in the States, that may have a lot to do with the fact that he's promising to revamp the tax code and make some changes. Those things still have to be approved by Congress. So if they don't happen, then that may all change. But let's at least do this. He is going to be president. It is time for us to wake up and accept the fact that he is going to be president of the United States. And that is what needs to happen. That is what should have happened. Even if I was having this conversation and Hillary Clinton was president-elect right now, I would be telling whoever was freaking out about it to sit down, calm down, take a breath, because if nothing else, it's 4 years till we figure out what we're going to do next. And we survived 8 years of some of the craziest things I've ever seen. I'm pretty sure we can survive 4 years of Trump. And who knows? Maybe, just maybe, I'll be pleasantly surprised. I hope to God I will be. But some of the things that I've been seeing, I'm not so sure about yet, but I'm still going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he hasn't actually done anything yet. The only thing he's done so far is actually reach out to a segment of the population that nobody but a Democrat has been able to vote for them since Reagan. That's the one thing that keeps coming back and keeps smacking me right in the face, is all the people that kept saying, but Rick, this is just going to be like with Reagan. And I'm like, stop comparing Trump to Reagan. And they're like, you just don't understand. I'm like, well, you're right. I don't understand comparing this moron to Reagan. And then you look at the map the day after the election, and I'm like, holy crap, it looks almost exactly like the Reagan map.
Yeah, it does. And I think my main thing that I just had an issue with was they were trying to compare him all around. And while the voting pattern may have been much like his, and some of the crossover voting was like his, I don't think as a man there's much of a comparison. But I kind of see, I don't know. I don't know. That whole thing, it just bothers me. I personally, I love Reagan and I understand the deification, but it also makes me uncomfortable, and I think it's been way too overused, and I'm kind of sick of it. And then because I do love him, I think that it's pretty much wrong to compare anybody nowadays to him. It's just, it's usually just a way to kind of try to get someone's attention and to legitimize someone more than they are, which I don't care for. But he won that map, man. That's insane.
Dude, it was nuts. I looked at that map the next day and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that much red in California, and somehow California still went blue. I guess it's because, the other interesting thing, if you look at the breakdowns and you look at the popular vote map, all the areas that are blue, now I haven't sourced this, so I don't know if it's accurate, but I saw somebody that put out some crime statistics, and oddly enough, the blue areas in the crime map looked oddly similar to the blue areas in the voting map. Just saying. Oh.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I kept meaning to kind of look it up and trying to find out the source on it, and I forgot. I keep forgetting. But I did see that and I went, well, you know.
It was kind of an odd parallel. I mean, I still haven't actually sourced it yet, so I'm not sure how accurate it is. But if it is accurate, it's kind of telling, because it seems like most of the places that were voting for her were pretty much the places where everybody breaks the law quite often.
Well, one thing that is certainly true is that there are huge areas that voted for Obama that went fairly significantly for Trump. So those are voters that change position. Those are voters that crossed over. And, you know, maybe they're not the types that really adhere to a party line, or maybe they do. I don't know. I know that they voted for Obama in the last several elections, and that they, you know, went against the Democrats that time. I don't think maybe it would have mattered if they ran someone other than Clinton. I'm not sure, though, at this point, if it would have. I think the agenda behind the Democratic Party right now is enough to move those people over to the right, at least for an election, at least for a populist candidate like Trump.
You know, and that's the thing. That's the thing that I don't think the Democrats counted on this time. It's not, I mean, look, this was not a referendum against the Democratic policies per se. I really don't think that it was, at least not the actual Democratic policies, the slightly left of center, normal American everyday policies. What I think this was a referendum against was the fact that for the last 8 years we've had a president dragging us, kicking and screaming further and further to the left, and America stood up and said, look, we are a centrist nation. It really is that simple. We work best when things are guided more towards the center. We don't want to be too far to the right. We don't want to be too far to the left. And we're tired of all of these people from both sides pulling us apart from our edges. And that's exactly what's been happening now for the last 8 years, because we've had far right-leaning folks overreacting to the far left-leaning folks pulling, and the rest of us in the middle are just standing around going, where the hell am I and how did we get here? And I think those are the people that finally woke up and said, look, Trump is not a perfect person, but he's better than the alternative. And that was the part of this that I kept missing, because I kept looking, and because this is what I do. I delve into things. I look at numbers. I take things apart. I put them back together. I enjoy doing research. So, I mean, I know things about these candidates that the average American isn't going to know, because they take 35, 40 seconds worth of news here and there when they can get it, and they form opinions. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Please don't misunderstand me. We all have lives. We're all very busy. We all cram in as much information as we can when we're busy going from point A to point C to point B and getting little Timmy off to T-ball practice and little Sally off to dance recital and coming home and figuring out what we're going to cook for dinner, being mad because the husband got called in and has to work another 8 hours for overtime because somebody didn't show up. I understand all of these things, so please don't think that I'm talking down to you because you get your information in bits and pieces. What I'm saying is things were different for those of us that live this stuff, because we're looking at it going, they're not seeing what we're seeing, and we don't know how to tell them. Now, my point here is I hope, against hope at this point, that we were wrong, because those of us that have delved into this, that have lived it, that have breathed it, for me, because I'm not very physically active anymore, politics has kind of become my football. It's what I do. It's what I enjoy. It's one thing that I can do that doesn't involve me having to deal with all the pains and the other aspects of everything that I have to deal with now on a daily basis, just to try to be somewhat active. So all the energy that I used to put into other things, I put into this. I put into the radio. I put into writing. I put into research. And what I found over and over again was people were just not connecting the dots. Now, at this point, all of that discussion is moot, because he is going to be POTUS. I could stand here for the next 4 years and rail against him for absolutely no reason other than the fact that I don't like who he is as a person because of the way he treats people. It would not accomplish anything. Nobody would listen to me. That would serve no purpose. At this point, he has done nothing. He has made no policy, and therefore I cannot currently oppose him. If that makes everyone hate me, then so be it. I've been there this entire election cycle. I don't care. I'm used to standing out here on my own, swinging and tilting at my own windmills. It's what I've been doing for the last 9 years. I had friends and family that told me I was crazy when I started all of this, that it was never going to amount to anything, and I'm not trying to beat my own chest at this point. But it is what it is. So I'm used to going out on my own, and I'm used to standing out on a limb and waiting to see if somebody's going to cut it out from under me. That is not a problem for me. So for all of you that keep attacking and saying, well, you're just not, you can't say you're never Trump because I'm still never Trump and you're okay with it. No, I never once said that I'm okay. I said he's going to be POTUS. And because of that, we need to give him the opportunity to try to be POTUS. It's the same courtesy that I extended to Barack Obama until I found out what he did behind closed doors and until I found out he wasn't going to do half of what he said about the ACA. If Donald Trump gets into office and starts doing the same things that Barack Obama did and starts talking about how transparent his administration is while everything goes on behind closed doors, I'll be the first one standing here screaming. And you know who you are, because I was in about an hour-long argument with someone who shall remain nameless on Twitter last night, who is terrified because they are afraid that Trump and Pence are going to come after the LGBTQ community. I want you to understand something. I spent 12 years of my life protecting and defending that community as a private security officer and the owner of a private security firm. It was one of the first contracts I picked up here in Oklahoma. It was the last one I let go when my business fell. I understand what you're going through. I am not a gay person, but I'm very familiar with a lot of gay people, and I understand what it is that you guys are afraid of. And if this administration in any way starts coming after you in any way, shape, or form, I will be the first one to stand up and try to stop them. So please, just stop with the crazy. Let's take a breath, calm down, breathe, and let's see if we can get through this, because it's not that bad yet. He hasn't even done anything. Stop trying to tear everything apart simply based on your fears. And for God's sake, can we please put down the Play-Doh, get rid of the therapy dogs, and actually get back to school? Is that too much to ask?
It's not just the therapy dogs. It's the Play-Doh and the crayons and what else? They're like milk and cookies and whatever. And they were literally doing like toddler therapy for college students.
I only have
Shut the front door.
I only have one thing to say about all of that.
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts?
Just that. That's all I have for that. I mean, you know, and I talked about that last night with Jackson on the air. Look, and this is the thing that I don't understand. People that were that age in the teens and the 40s, they were saving the world. They were putting everything aside to go put themselves in harm's way to save the world, and these people can't even leave their classroom because of a presidential election. What have we done to our society when we have an entire generation of namby-pamby, milquetoast people that can't even get over the fact that their candidate didn't win an election? And I'm not just talking about the college people at this point, because I'm seeing people that are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old melting down because Hillary Clinton is not the anointed one. What have we done? What have we become that our entire existence is hinged on someone that we don't even know becoming president of the United States that could give two craps less about us one way or the other? What have we done to ourselves and our nation that this is where we are today? That we have an entire segment of the population that has been calling in sick because they can't cope with the fact that Hillary Clinton is not going to be the president of the United States. In what world, in what dimension, in what reality is that okay? I don't understand this.
Well, it's not. And you know what? I really do think screw anybody that is coddling that crap. I mean, anybody that is making this a thing. I think I have someone that wrote a pretty good piece kind of about this today on the Misfits website. She wrote about the left and the lack of and pushing us to our brink on empathy. And when it gets to things like this, it's just been happening so much and for so long, and we're told to understand and empathize and, try to put yourself in their shoes and where they're coming from and why this is so hard on people that eventually your well runs out. And particularly with things that seem utterly insane to the average person. I mean, why does someone, that I know that is struggling to raise kids on her own, working several jobs, do you think that she has any time in her day to feel any sort of, to feel sympathetic to these grown-up babies at all? Hell no. It's an insult. It's a slap in the face. It's like, suck it up, Buttercup. Pull up your pants and move on down the road. Let's go. Up 2. I mean, it's insane. I'm so sick of the campaign, the safety pin thing, and how there are a lot of those same kind of, like I was talking about, morally principled never Trumpers on the right. They're telling us we can't, say we'll wait and see, or we'll support him now just, until he does something bad. That are also saying that we should show our solidarity for these people, and we should put paper clips next to our emoji and then safety pins on our shirts, because we do need to understand, because we do get it. We didn't like Trump that much too. No, I'm sorry. This is not how adults behave. This is utterly absurd and embarrassing. I feel like I think it's so embarrassing, and I don't have a bone in my body. I don't have a sympathetic bone in my body that I have to waste on these people.
It's interesting that you bring up Suck It Up, Buttercup. I have something I want to play about 30, 45 seconds of here.
Why don't you scream and pout, Buttercup, baby, when I cut you down? You're a liberal clown, and then worst of all, you always call baby the skate up bird. So you're feeling so hurt, and you do. So need to stay, darling, and slice it in circles you drove. So shut your mouth, Buttercup, leave us alone.
All right, so I don't want to play too much more than that because we're actually still under review for my heart, but I had to because you went there. All right, so that was Buttercup. Awesome. If you actually want to hear the whole thing, you can go to SoundCloud, search JD and Stacy, look for Buttercup. In parentheses, you'll see Stacy's song. That is yet another one put together by Third Rail Ramblers, the station's very own house parody band. We're hoping we get to work on some new stuff soon. But the crazy thing is, with the way this election cycle's gone, all their old stuff is new again. So now we can just play the heck out of it, and it all still fits in perfectly, even though this stuff was done like a year ago.
Yeah, no, it is amazing. It's timeless. That's what we call timeless.
Just proves we picked the right guys to do the parody band. Just saying.
Absolutely, they're awesome.
All right, so yeah, sorry, I think I kind of blew the whole build up and frustration, but I decided, it was time to have a little fun, and that is actually kind of what I've been doing on Twitter, because I hate to admit this because it's gonna make me sound like a terrible person, but everybody kind of knows me that I have that streak. I've actually enjoyed getting back to the point where we're actually picking on liberals again. Is that a bad thing?
No, it's not, and I have also. It's felt good, It really has. It's felt like coming home.
Kind of like when you come home and you get in your comfy clothes and you find your best favoriteest pair of house shoes and you slide them on. That's how it felt last night when I was up till like 1:30 in the morning, just going at it with a lib, and I'm like, man, I have missed this. It's not nearly as much fun to pick on the alt-right because at least the libs can take it well. They'll just stand there and trade shots with you. The alt-rights eventually just start calling you cuck, and it gets repetitive, and I'm like, dude, it's boring. I'm done.
Oh, man. It's just nice. I get still being pretty like anti-Trump, and I am, but I've got to wait and see what happens with him. But it's been nice to lock arms with, former friends that are kind of becoming friends again, and being able to tackle other subjects and other things. I'm not gonna say that doesn't feel good and that it's not a huge weight lifted to just have to give up the infighting at least somewhat and move on.
All right, well, speaking of moving on, it's about time for us to take a break. When we come back, believe it or not, the craziest of the crazy things is happening. So we have the left doing a total meltdown, right? So you figured Joe Biden would be joining them. Maybe not. We'll actually talk about that when we get back. This is Jen and Rick, and we will be back with you in just a couple minutes right here on KLRNradio.com.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the...
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you and your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
I'm proud as hell, I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live into the second half of the show already. All right, so as promised before we went to break, Joe Biden, is he on the meltdown crew or is he being rational? Who would have thunk it? Actually, Jen, why don't you take this one? I've talked a lot.
Okay, so basically, there was, Jamel Bowie put out a piece on, I think it was on Vox, that, said, all Trump voters are racist. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And, so a lot of us went, wait, what? That's so absurd to say, and kind of how dare you. So I'm just, looking at some stuff, and all of a sudden I see that Joe Biden says, no, actually, all Trump voters aren't racist. A lot of them, kind of like we talked about earlier, voted for Obama, and that the Democrats didn't pay enough attention to some of these communities in particular industries, namely those communities in the Rust Belt and also in the coal and other areas of the coal industry, and just the rural areas in general. And they took for granted that these people that had been voting Democrat mostly since Clinton were still going to vote for yet another Clinton and another Democrat. And they were wrong, and they didn't do enough. And that's what he said. And he said, no, not all Trump, not all Trumpers are racist, basically. Trying to pull up. There was a pretty good quote here. And of course, mine went away.
Actually, I actually pulled the audio from the article. It runs for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, do that.
My panel's back with me. Jonathan, let me start with you. You heard Bernie Sanders. Democratic Senator John Tester, you heard say to fight Trump tooth and nail would be a big mistake. I don't think that's what we should be doing, speaking about Democrats. Is he right?
Well, I think that separating two things, reflecting what Bernie said, which is if things like internment camps come up, the things around that divide people, racism, misogyny, the things that rolling back rights that women have had, gays and lesbians have had, will fight him tooth and nail. On the other hand, Bernie Sanders in his campaign argued for a big infrastructure plan, $1 trillion. Donald Trump has advocated for that in his campaign. So I think that there might be commonality there. What will be really interesting will be what commonalities there might be on trade, because as you know, Donald Trump made a big deal about the disaster of NAFTA, which I agreed with. Yep. The TPP is probably dead in the lame duck session, but will it come up again, partly because Republicans in Congress will push it? Where will Trump stand on that? And on that, if he opposes the TPP and other bad trade agreements, he would find, I'm sure, common cause with Democrats.
So on this issue of racism, yep. President Joe Biden was extremely harsh, Jamie, during the campaign about Donald Trump, right? As harsh as Mitt Romney. But last night he said it is wrong for Democrats to accuse Trump supporters of being racist. Okay, it's a powerful thing for him to say. Here's what he said.
You lost because there's an awful lot of hard-working Americans who live in areas where they, in fact, were not paying much attention to. They're not racist. Barack Obama won these people. It's not like they're racist. They voted for him. But they didn't vote this time for the Democrat.
It's a powerful thing, Jamie, because there are a lot of Democrats.
Okay, so I don't think we need to listen to the rest of it, because you heard him say, and for once, dude, did they finally put him on some meds? Because was it me or was he cogent?
No, this was a great statement for him to make, and I think, and very true. And I think one of the problems coming out of this election has been the Democrats a lot of them ignoring instead of actually doing a self-evaluation and figuring out where things really went wrong instead of just blaming, racists and Trump.
Oh, no, yeah, and that's the thing. That's really all they have at this point. That is all they have. Anytime you and the same thing happened to me last night. I'm sitting here and I put out a tweet that apparently was not very popular with a lot of the homosexual folks, because I'm thinking maybe they didn't know. Maybe they didn't bother to watch Trump on 60 Minutes when he said, gay marriage is the law of the land, and I'm okay with that. Because, I have plenty of friends right now that are homosexual and they're in meltdown mode. And I'm like, look, what are you freaking out about? Did you not watch him on 60 Minutes say that he's going that's not changing? And You know what their answer is down to the last one of them? There's plenty of other things about being gay that are a problem besides who you can marry.
Yeah. I mean, it's just an excuse. And they're used to being what they feel is an oppressed minority, so they're going to continue to kind of cry that stance right now. I do think in general, that this freak out, people are latching onto it. They're from similar demographics pretty much and a lot of the gay community, and it's been entirely unfounded. But he's just dangerous. That's the thing. He's just dangerous, and you don't get it, and you don't understand. You've never felt the way I felt, and yada, 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 yada. And, maybe to a certain extent that's true, but there are also a lot of things that I felt threatened under an Obama administration, and I felt particularly things to do with my faith that would be challenged, questions, or forced. And they were, actually. And I just don't, I'm kind of like boo freaking who. Like, I'm sorry. Obama did not give you gay marriage. The Supreme Court ruled on it. Trump cannot take it away. Amongst other things that y'all are all saying that he's going to do that he simply cannot.
And because I know this is going to come up, because right now somebody's, whether they're listening on an app or on iTunes or wherever they listen to us on a regular basis. Right now, there are liberals that are listening, and I know they're there because I get emails from them occasionally, and they like to tell me how much smarter than me they are. Right now, they're like, but you don't understand. You don't understand because if he says that abortion is not the law of the land, but gay marriage is the law of the land, then what's the difference? It's a pretty simple thing, because what you guys don't seem to want to acknowledge is that Roe v. Wade was very specific in what it granted as far as access to abortion. It said that due to health reasons, they wanted to make sure that abortion was available, but they wanted to make sure that it was safe, legal, and rare, because they were tired of hearing about women that had accidentally killed themselves in dark alleys using coat hangers to kill children that they didn't want or need. So here's the problem. Roe v. Wade has not been settled, because the issue is it is not rare. In any sense of the word, it is not rare. When you talk about millions and millions and millions of babies that are slaughtered every single day, that is not rare. So that is one of my biggest problems with it. I'm not telling you not to have an abortion. It's not my place to tell you not to have an abortion. I'm not offering to come pay to raise the child for you if you can't afford it. But what I am telling you is there are ways to make sure that you don't have those children that you may not be able to afford, or that may impact your lifestyle somehow. But I'm going to tell you something that I've never told anybody on the air before. I was a mistake. My mother got pregnant at 15 and a half. There was a really good chance I wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for the fact that I was born in a time when abortion was still not really that commonplace. And I knew this growing up, because my family was one of those families that did not keep secrets from anybody about anything. There were things that I knew growing up that I wish I didn't know. So as someone who knows that there was a really good chance that if there was the possibility they would have wound up on somebody's table before they were viable, then I have to tell you that is one of the reasons why I have always fought tooth and nail against abortion. It's not because I don't want you to be able to have an abortion. It's because I don't think you understand, because I have talked to people after they've had abortions. It leaves a hole in their hearts. It leaves a hole in their soul that some of them cannot fill. I used to counsel people when I was younger. When I was in college, I actually helped out in a small church. And one of the things that I wound up doing was people would come in, and if the main pastor was busy, she would have me sit down and talk to people if I was closer to their age groups. And it was when I was in my early teens, or late teens, early 20s. And I would actually talk to people that had already gone through these things. And it's one of the things that shaped it for me, because I was still learning and I was still young and I didn't really have an opinion about it. I didn't form my opinion until I heard from the 100th person how much they hurt every single day because of something that they did that they could not take back. because they were facing the fact that they knew in their heart that was a child that they had been blessed with, even if the circumstances didn't make sense at the time. And now they're coming to terms with the fact that was a blessing that they threw away. And I'm not saying that everybody's going to feel that way, but I'm saying, like the liberals say, if only one person feels that way, like they do with if it only saves one child's life, isn't it worth it? Well, if you keep one person from having remorse for realizing that they probably should have found another way to deal with an unwanted pregnancy, isn't it worth it? And that's what we're talking about with Roe v. Wade. It's not that we want it illegal again. We understand the genie's not ever going to be put back in the bottle. But Roe v. Wade is not settled because nobody expected Planned Parenthood to pop up like Quickie Marts on every corner.
Well, and let me just give some statistics here. Per Planned Parenthood's 2014 and 2015 report, which I think was released today or recently. Adoption referrals, 2024. Abortions, 323,999. 323,999. So safe, legal, and shockingly common is what my friend at CD Payne 79 said. Who's hilarious. Follow him on Twitter. But he says safe, legal, and shockingly common. I mean, that's one adoption referral for every 160 abortions.
And look,
please tell again how they're not a factory.
But yeah, I mean, but let's think about this logically for a second. Because again, I'm not saying there aren't things that need to be addressed and adjusted. We need to make it a lot less difficult to adopt children than it is in this country.
Absolutely.
There is way too much red tape when it comes to adoptions. There are way too many things that can come up on background checks when you're trying to adopt a child that shouldn't even be relevant. I actually know a friend who went through a similar situation because when he was going through a divorce, he had a stepchild. Well, during the divorce, it turns out that the stepchild was going through a situation with their real father. Well, the real father blamed the stepdad. And because the stepdad refused to go in and talk to Children and Family Services about the situation without having an attorney present, he has a permanent black mark on his record because he left a room because they kept saying that he had to talk to them. And all he kept saying was, look, I'm not talking to you till I get my attorney. I've already talked to my attorney. My attorney can be here within 30 minutes. We can wait or you can reschedule because I'm not answering your questions without my attorney. 6 years later, when the unthinkable happened and that young girl was left without a father, that family tried to step up and adopt the child because he had raised her from birth until about age 7. And when that happened, because of that black mark, he wasn't allowed to. Because of something, he was never convicted. He was never even actually accused. He just refused to answer questions from Children and Family Services, and because of that, he had a black mark on his record. Those are the type of things that we need to change if we're going to try to make people understand that there are alternatives to having abortions. We need to take away the stigma that comes from all of this. That's what started abortion in the first place. If you really want to get technical, what started abortion in the first place was, oh my God, I can't tell my parents I'm pregnant. I'm 16 years old. They're going to freak out. They're going to kick me out of the house. I don't know what I'm going to do. Those are the things that we need to work on. And that's something that everybody needs to work on. But to think that we're going to go back to the Dark Ages and the Stone Ages and outlaw abortion when everyone knows for a fact we cannot do that because it's now legally protected under the Constitution, that is insane. I mean, how do these people think we're going to be able to roll back the Constitution? Well, wait a minute. Hang on. I take that back. These are the same people that don't seem to understand the Electoral College. So maybe they do think that you can just wave a magic wand and make everything better.
Well, here's the thing about all of it that they fail to understand. This was not Roe v. Wade was not an amendment to the Constitution, and it drives me insane when people say it's constitutionally protected. Much like many other laws that are in action, they had.
She's calling me out because I misspoke. Go ahead.
What?
No, I'm just saying you're giving me a hard time because I misspoke.
I'm not calling you out. I'm saying that this is a common tactic, especially with liberals, to say. It's protected by the Constitution, blah, 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 blah. And I say, show me where. And they go, well, I mean, because the Supreme Court. Yes, but the Supreme Court ruled on it. That doesn't mean that it was added into the Constitution. And I think there are people that actually believe that. they do believe that when the court rules, then it's part of our Constitution. And so what I then tell them is that what is a part of our Constitution is the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And a specific case was brought and was ruled on, which you already outlined, was very limited in what it was saying it would allow and what was constitutional. And any of that can be changed and can go to court again. So that this is not just end all be all. And I realize that we have mostly declined to challenge it, but we kind of do in other ways. The ways in which states have put limitations on, at what point an abortion can be banned, a 20-week abortion ban, the ways in which they put restriction on medical centers and how, what their standards must be in order to perform abortions. If they have to have a certain kind of care there, a certain kind of doctor, or ambulatory service, all of those kinds of things are ways in which, we do things that do then get challenged and go up through the courts, and eventually the Supreme Court will rule on some of those. That's how we work. That's how we are a fairly considerate, judicious society. And it protects us from a lot of things, but there are things that can still be challenged. And just because the court has ruled on one, they only rule on specifics. So any other bills can be drawn up, laws can be made, and then those can go to the court and be challenged and see what they have to say about them. But it doesn't just mean there was nothing that said that abortion was a right guaranteed by the Constitution. That is utterly absurd.
No, you're right, it is. And just to clarify, because I realized that I was actually one of the ones that just said, hey, it's protected by the Constitution. I understand that it's not actually an amendment. But let's face it,
Except for, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. What I'm saying is these other people that I don't know and don't talk to on a regular basis, they can't explain to me what it means. And a lot of times what they do end up saying is that, yeah, and I say, is it in the Constitution? And they're like, yes. What the Supreme Court rules on is then in the Constitution. And I think it's a more common misconception than I knew, until I was really on Twitter and all these people say those kinds of things. Like, that's what it now means. No, honey, here's what it has to be in the Constitution. In order to get a constitutional amendment, you have to, and go through that whole thing. Kind of like with the Electoral College stuff. We can't just pass some bill, or sign a petition and get rid of it. I mean, we have to actually get 2/3 of both the House of Representatives and the Senate, and then get 3/4 of the states before you're going to pass or undo any amendment. And it's just amazing how many people don't know those basic facts.
Well, that's because civics is not what it used to be, even when it is.
It's not a priority.
Well, even when it is taught in school, because it's still in some places taught in school, it's not nearly what it used to be. It kind of becomes a goof-off hour, and that's sad. Because a lot of what formed my opinion about our government I actually learned in junior high and high school civics classes. And those, even then, were being taught by liberals, but, it wasn't the same type of liberal that kids deal with now. I mean, my teachers in my junior high and high school years, they were raging liberals for the day. But they're not anything like a lot of the liberal teachers that kids deal with now. And just liberals in general. I mean, there's like this whole new class of liberals, because you have like the classical liberals that were like, JFK style liberal. They're like, they still believed in limited government to a point. They wanted less taxes because they knew it was a good thing. But there were certain things that they thought the government should be responsible for. And that was to make sure that there were safety net programs to take care of people that couldn't take care of themselves. The problem with all of those things, and the thing that we've seen happening time and time again, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so terrified that we're going to wind up with some form of socialized medicine, is every time we start some sort of a safety net program, what it winds up being turned into by people that morph it and mutate it generations later, it's not a safety net anymore, it's a spider web, because once you're in them, it's almost impossible to get out of them. I know this because I spent a good 3 years of my life working my tail end off to get back out of them after I wound up dealing with an injury that put me out of the workforce for a while. So I understand all of these things, and I know how hard it is to get yourself back up off of your feet. And I know how easy it is just to look up and say, you know what, I'm done, it's over, I'm just going to sit here on my government check with my food stamps and my government housing, and I'm just going to chill. I understand how easy it is because I had to fight that same urge every single day. But for all of you right now that are freaking out, and look, I'm done making fun of you. Look, you have whatever you think your reasons are for being terrified. But I'm telling you, whatever those reasons are, they are not founded in reality. You can either accept that, embrace the fact that he's going to be president, try to move forward with your lives, or you can spend the next 4 years locked away in a classroom somewhere playing with Play-Doh and eating pizza. But what are you going to accomplish? Because I guarantee you, if the election had gone the other way, and if the people on the right were acting like the people on the left are acting right now, they would be calling for the National Guard. They would be calling for all of us to be removed from the country because we were un-American. And all we're doing is sitting back going, really? This, after you made all this noise about when Donald Trump talked about not accepting the election results and how un-American that would be, and you guys are staging walkouts from junior highs and high schools, you're staging protests in colleges. And this, come on, our high school and junior high kids are protesting? They can't even vote. Most of them don't even understand the ramifications yet, and because they're watching the crazy-ass behavior of their parents, they're walking out of the middle of the class. I'm not going to participate in this classroom because I can't stand Donald Trump being president. I was actually, while you were talking, reading through a story on Monday from 2 Silver Springs High School. They just completely walked out of classes to protest President-elect Donald Trump. They just said, we're out. We're done. We're not doing school today because Donald Trump's president. What the actual hell?
I know. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. And can you imagine if people behaved this way if, Hillary or Obama had been elected? If schools had organized walkouts, if people had, been given time off from work, if professors had said, you can take some time and not come to your midterm or your final because you need to cope with the election results. Can you imagine if a conservative had to ask, for a counselor to be provided for their students, how they would be laughed at, how they would be told that this was better anyways and to just get over it and stop being such a bigot and so stupid, how ignorant they were, that they wanted, the Republican to win. It would just be such fodder for The Daily Show, for SNL, for all of those, kind of comedy news shows. And then also for places like MSNBC, they would be mocking it relentlessly. And also, by the way, they would be turned down or arrested for doing any of the things that the left is doing.
No, exactly. And it's just maddening to me because as well as I do, if Republican parents' children were walking out of class because Hillary Clinton was elected president, their parents would be hauled in for truancy. If Republican parents' children were trying to hold up college classes because Hillary Clinton was elected president, they would be called terrorists because they're keeping other children from learning. Yep. If we were doing any of these things, the media would be crucifying us. Instead, the media is sitting back going, oh my God, can you see how emotionally invested these people were in Hillary Clinton? And it's a great segue to one last little bit because I've got to get this in. This is yet another great parody from the Third Rail Ramblers, and it fits so well, even though it was done for the 2014 midterms.
We were all right for a while. We held it all for a while. But on election night, lost Senate seats left and right. Our fabled base, it failed to show. And though it hurt like hell, everyone could tell that we'd been crying tears
All right, sorry, couldn't resist. All right, folks, we are officially out of time. Actually, I am not feeling well tonight, so I think I'm going to beg off of the America Off the Rails show. I'll probably put up a replay here in just a minute. I will be back live tomorrow night on Robinson and Wright, though, with my good friend, Mr. Dan Wright, and actually I'll be back with you live again Saturday morning for Finding Common Ground. So, hey, you get like 9 hours of radio from me this week, not 10. But anyway, also want to give a quick shout out to some folks that we've been talking with lately. Got some big announcements coming soon from, well, I'm not going to give their names out yet, but we're actually in talks with another network. They're going to start probably simulcasting some of our stuff. That would include this one, by the way. Surprised I hadn't told you that yet. But anyway, we are out, folks. Have a great night. Take care. God bless. And just cause, I'm going to take us out listening to some more of this.
So long, left buried